You owe no clarity to the darkness. Your light is not meant to explain itself to the blind. There are moments in every man's life when he realizes that not everyone wishes to understand him. Some seek to challenge you. Some seek to control you. And some aim only to confuse you until you doubt your very own light. Throughout your life, you have been taught to communicate better, to explain yourself, to be transparent, as if opening up guarantees understanding. But what if I told you there are those who are not confused at all? They know exactly who you are, and therein lies the problem. They do not misunderstand you by accident. They deliberately misinterpret you because your clarity threatens the lies they live by, because your growth exposes their stagnation, because your peace makes their chaos roar louder. These are not men lacking intellect. They lack the will. They refuse to hear the truth. They want to drain your spirit until you shrink to fit their bitterness. And here lies the trap. You keep explaining. You keep justifying. You keep rationalizing your choices, your values, your boundaries, as if self-worth is a trial in court. As if they will say, "Ah, now I understand." But they never do, and they never intend to. For their purpose is not to understand you. Their purpose is to dominate you. Your willingness to explain becomes the weapon they wield to distort truth, turning it into ammunition fired back at you. It is time to stop, not because you are bitter, but because you are wise enough to know not to argue with darkness, not to defend yourself before those who intentionally misinterpret you. Do not explain your light to those addicted to darkness. There is a reason your silence unsettles them more than your words ever could. For silence is where power resides, where boundaries are honored, and where your dignity becomes non-negotiable. This is no message of anger. It is a message of clarity, reclaiming energy from those who thrive on confusion, blame, and emotional chaos. This is the message of emotional wisdom, of psychological boundaries, of quiet self-respect. In a world addicted to noise and reaction, if you are weary in mind, heart, and spirit from defending yourself to those unworthy of your truth, walk with me through this video to discover why some demand endless explanations, how your silence becomes your greatest shield, and how to reclaim your inner peace. Self-worth and unapologetic strength begin with this bold decision. Stop explaining to the demons dwelling in others' hearts and start remembering who you truly are. Not every attack against you is personal. Some come not because of who you are, but because of what you reflect back to them. Let this settle deep within you. You are not the enemy. You are the mirror. When a man carries unresolved pain, unhealed insecurities, or prolonged emotional turmoil, your peace becomes a source of discomfort. Your boundaries are seen as disrespect. Your maturity becomes a threat. Why? Because the light within you forces them to confront the darkness inside themselves. They do not hate your success. They resent the reminders your success brings of what they have yet to achieve. They do not envy your confidence. They envy it because it exposes their inner doubts. They do not attack your voice because it is wrong. They attack it because it is clear, and clarity terrifies those weak in spirit. This is what psychology calls projection. When a man cannot face his own inner truth, he unconsciously pushes it outward. He calls you arrogant when you are simply confident. He labels you selfish when you finally set boundaries. He brands you difficult when you stop pleasing others. And if you are not vigilant, if you lack emotional wisdom, you begin to believe them. You confuse their projections for reality. You start doubting yourself, shrinking away, questioning your instincts, not because you are wrong, but because someone burdened by unhealed pain has cast their darkness upon you. This is how demons manifest in men, not through monsters on screen, but through subtle manipulators in daily life. They smile in your face, but quietly undermine your confidence. They feign care, but silently compete. They offer advice born from their limits, not from your potential. And the most dangerous part is they often wear familiar faces: a father, a brother, a partner, a friend, a boss. It's easy to spot strangers trying to bring you down, but it's far harder to accept that the one wounding your spirit may be someone you once loved. Yet, if you are serious about your self-worth and protecting your psychological boundaries, you must face this truth. Not everyone in your life has the emotional capacity to support your growth. Not everyone who says "I care" truly supports your development. Some love the weakened, stagnant version of you, the version easy to manipulate, control, and guilt into obedience. When you change, they become unsettled. They say you have changed. You start to feel as if you've outgrown them. You are no longer the man you once were. But that is precisely the point, isn't it? You have changed. You should not remain the same. Growth is the ultimate goal. Their demons, the envy, the unresolved anger, the spiritual stagnation cannot bear your transformation. So what do? They provoke you. They tempt you. They drag you into conflicts. And when that fails, they play the victim. This is not love. This is emotional warfare. The only way to win is not to engage. For the moment, you try to explain your boundaries to someone who benefits from your lack of them. You have already lost. You are speaking truth to those who only know manipulation. You attempt reason with those living in illusion. You offer your vulnerability to those who see compassion as a weapon. No matter how carefully you speak, no matter how often you try to explain, they will not listen. They filter everything through their own pain, and they will twist every truth you speak into weapons against you. That is why you must stop explaining yourself, not out of pride, but wisdom, because you finally understand you are not here to fix what they refuse to face. You are not responsible for carrying demons that are not yours. You are here to walk steadfastly in your truth, silent, resolute, and unapologetic. If your truth unsettles them, so be it. That is not your burden to bear, but the mirror they must confront. There is a quiet tragedy in the lives of good-hearted men with tender souls. They believe that if they explain enough, open fully, and show clear intent, they will eventually be understood. What they fail to see is that explaining to the prejudiced is not enlightenment, but self-erasure. And so the cycle begins quietly. You speak honestly, and they distort your words. You set boundaries, and they brand you selfish. You break free from toxic loops, and somehow you become the villain in their story. What do you do then? You start explaining, defending, justifying. You replay every conversation in your mind, wondering if you could have said something differently. You soften your truth to make it gentler, more palatable, hoping they might finally recognize your heart. But they never do. And the cruelest truth is, it is never enough. No matter how much you say, how much emotional energy you invest, how transparent you try to be, they will not respond, because they never intended to. Each attempt to make them understand chips away at your soul. You begin to doubt yourself. Am I too harsh? Overreacting? Should I just let it go? Maybe it's my fault. This is more than exhaustion. It is emotional erosion. A gradual loss of self-worth as you keep trying to be seen by those unwilling to accept. This is what happens when you forget that your truth needs no permission to exist. Without awareness, you risk wasting years in this endless cycle. You explain your kindness too much to the cruel. You over-justify your boundaries to the demanding. You try to clarify your peace to those addicted to chaos. But no matter how artfully you explain, they do not listen. Why? Because they listen not to understand, but to refute. They wait for every crack in your conviction, every weakness in your voice, to attack, manipulate, distort, and make you doubt your own reality. And this is what you must grasp unwaveringly. You are under no obligation to justify your peace to those who only know conflict. Let this be your new boundary. This does not make you cold or closed off. It means you choose your energy wisely. It is a mark of high emotional intelligence when you understand not every why deserves an answer. Not everyone who demands entry into your soul deserves an explanation. Not everyone who challenges your decisions does so out of love or respect. Some act out of envy, some to control, some merely to mirror their own struggles. Over-explaining only feeds the illusion that they have a right to your clarity. They do not. You hold the right to silence. You hold the right to walk away. You have the right to say, I will not justify myself to those who wield my words as weapons. This is not defensiveness, but psychological self-preservation, silence, born of dignity, not ego. Zignas, profound maturity. It says, I know who I am. I know why I choose what I do. And I no longer seek understanding from those who exploit misunderstandings about me. This quiet strength separates the impulsive from the wise. It is a truth Stoic philosophers grasped long before psychology named it. Do not waste your time arguing with troublemakers. You are not here to convince, but to live by your values, your truth, and your future. And the moment you cease explaining, defending, or justifying to those who cannot honor that truth, you reclaim your time. You reclaim clarity. You reclaim power. Power that needs no shouting, no proof, no pleading. Power simply walks with calm eyes and purposeful steps. Now, let us pause to ask a sincere question. Why must you keep explaining to those who have shown they have no desire to understand you? Why give away your energy like candy to those who only take and never give back? The answer is often not what you think. It's not because you are weak, not because you lack reason, and certainly not because they deserve your care. It's because deep inside, you have been conditioned to believe that if misunderstood, you must fix it. You tie your self-worth to being liked, confusing acceptance with safety. And when someone doubts your choices, your beliefs, or your identity, you panic, explain, justify. You dive into needless emotions, searching for peace amid chaos. Here lies the awakening. Peace is not found by negotiating with turmoil. Peace emerges by guarding your energy against it. Emotional wisdom becomes essential here. Otherwise, you will endlessly exhaust yourself trying to be understood by the emotionally drained. They neither understand nor intend to. They provoke, bait, and twist. Every moment you explain, they win. Not because your reason fails, but because your attention is the currency they trade in. Know this well, your attention is power. Whoever controls your emotional focus commands your inner state. When someone stirs your anger, pushing you to explain, justify, prove yourself, what they truly control is your energy. That is their victory. The moment you step into their arena to make them understand, you abandon your inner steadiness. You surrender your inner peace in pursuit of external approval. That trade is always a loss. The truth is, some thrive on your unrest. They feel empowered when you stumble defending yourself. They feel righteous when you lower your standards to match their chaos. They feel validated when you explain your soul just to soothe their ego. Yet this is not connection, it is control. And the more you feed it, the more you lose yourself. Many refuse to admit this. There is a hidden benefit in over-explaining. It makes you feel useful. It creates a false sense of control, as if better words will finally make them understand. But they won't, because they come not from curiosity, but from ego. Ego cares not for truth, only for victory. Every time you fall into the cycle of explaining and justifying, you fuel their game and, worse, drain your soul. This is when your self-worth must rise. It's time to realize not everyone deserves the truth from you. Not everyone has the right to comprehend your inner reasoning. Not all are worthy of your transparency. You have the right to keep distance. You have the right to guard your space. You have the right to say, "This conversation does not serve my peace." This is not rudeness but psychological boundary setting. It marks a mindset of high performance. For the most powerful men do not explain themselves to everyone. They act silently. They conserve their energy. They walk away instead of arguing with those addicted to misunderstanding. Now is your time to join them. You've wasted too much water on dead trees, too much time explaining to indifferent souls, too many moments placing your peace in the hands of those who never intended to protect it. From now on, let this be your creed. I owe no one an explanation for the choices I make for my peace. And when the urge arises to explain, justify, defend, take a deep breath. Remember, you were not born to perform for those silently wishing your failure. Be honest. One big reason you keep explaining is that deep down, you crave recognition. You want someone to say, "I understand you. You are right." That feeling, that is acknowledgement. It is human nature. Yet it is also the most dangerous trap you will ever fall into. Because when your peace depends on others' understanding, you lose your freedom. The truth is, no one promises acceptance of your thoughts, choices, or dreams. Most only accept you when you make them comfortable. Comfort rarely comes from truth. It comes from similarity, compliance, and fitting their mold. So what happens when you break the mold, mature, and exceed their limits? You become harder to empathize with, harder to control. You become a threat. Instead of adapting, many resist, not with weapons, but through psychological torment, silence, and cunning questions. Why do you act this way? Since when have you been so cold? You've changed. They are not confused. They are just uncomfortable because you no longer beg for their acceptance. Yet, despite this, you return. You keep trying to explain. You still hope this time they will understand. But be honest, if someone truly wished to understand you, they would have asked better questions by now. If someone truly cares for your heart, they will never turn your weakness into a weapon. So why do you keep returning? because you've mistaken recognition for love. And that is the most painful illusion you must shatter. But shatter it you must. For if you don't, you remain emotionally bound to those who only love you when you accept them without question. You can rise above others simply by choosing peace over performance. And when you do, they often accuse you of selfishness, distance, or coldness. Yet, choosing peace does not make you cold. It makes you clear. Clear about what? Clear that you do not need psychological approval to know your own worth. Clear that you are not here to be emotionally manipulated by those who feed on your insecurity. This is a turning point in your life. You can keep explaining yourself to those who only listen to judge, or you can accept that understanding is not owed, and your truth needs no applause to stand firm. True emotional wisdom lies in knowing when to speak and when to stop. For your energy is meant to be preserved, not to persuade. Now, let us speak of silence. There is a sacred power in not responding when someone awaits your reaction. What you truly say is that you are no longer under their control. This is the strength of silence. It does not fuel their game. It does not validate their drama. It denies them the satisfaction of seeing you fall. Instead, it leaves them alone with themselves. And for those who crave control, that is unbearable. So stop confusing silence with weakness. Do not mistake peace for passivity. Sometimes, the most powerful step you can take is to quietly walk away. No grand explanations. No dramatic endings, just a firm decision. I no longer need to be understood by one who chooses not to understand me. That, my friend, is the beginning of emotional freedom. It is the dawn of soul discipline, when your peace becomes inviolable. For this is the ultimate truth. Your life is no court. Your choices are not to be judged. Your truth needs no defense attorney. You do not require approval to breathe. You do not need applause to heal. Freedom asks not for permission, but for courage to stop explaining and wisdom to recognize who never deserved an explanation in the first place. Let me tell you a story. There was a remarkable woman, strong and radiant. She was not perfect, but genuine. She loved deeply. She listened attentively. She gave more than she received. Like many of us, she had one weakness. She longed to be understood by someone who never intended to understand her. His words were charming, his presence captivating. Yet beneath the mask was a man who did not love her for who she truly was. He loved the feeling she gave him. She believed that explaining herself would bring them closer, so she shared her past. Childhood wounds, spiritual values. She explained why she needed solitude, why her boundaries mattered, and why chaos made her anxious. And each time he nodded, only to twist her words later. You're too sensitive. You overthink. You're not happy anymore. You used to be easier. So she tried harder. She softened her tone. She excused his behavior. She told herself he meant well. And maybe she needed more patience, more generosity, more communication, until one day she faced a harsh truth. She was no longer communicating, she was pleading. And the more she explained, the more she lost herself. This is how emotional theft happens, not with fists, but by peeling away your truth, piece by piece, stolen under the guise of fixing things. This is not love. This is not misunderstanding. This is what psychology calls a trauma bond, a vicious cycle where the victim continuously seeks affection from the one who undermines their spirit. And this is far more common than you think. Sometimes, It's not romantic. It's a father or mother who makes you feel guilty for having your own needs. A boss who praises you one day, then belittles you the next. A friend who calls only when they need you, yet accuses you of distance when you don't comply. In every case, the trap remains the same. You keep trying to explain yourself to gain respect. But respect does not come from over-explaining. It comes from self-respect and is fortified by clear boundaries. If someone cannot meet you with the honesty you offer, if they exploit your emotional transparency as leverage, if they make you feel like being yourself is a burden, then you are not in a relationship. You are bound in a contract of emotional servitude. And this is when emotional wisdom must rise. For sometimes, love must be interrupted by reason. You cannot always feel your way through toxicity. You must face it, head on, name it, and withdraw. Beautiful memories no longer matter. The potential you once saw holds no value. And no matter how many times they say, "I'm sorry," it no longer carries weight. If someone constantly makes you feel the need to justify your character, they are not confused. They are comfortable doubting your worth. And the harsh truth is, they will persist until you stop engaging. You cannot change those who profit from misunderstanding you. You cannot heal in a space that keeps reopening old wounds. You cannot find peace by explaining to someone who thrives on chaos. So, how did the woman in the story heal? She stopped justifying herself. She ceased sending long messages to clarify her intentions. She stopped defending her need for space. Instead, she sat quietly in silence. And in that silence, she rebuilt her soul. She realized peace is not something earned through performance. It is her birthright, the standard she sets, and those who fail to honor that lose access to her, not because she despises them, but because she finally loved herself enough to guard her energy. Perhaps you are that woman, or still trapped in a version of her story. But the ending shifts the moment you stop explaining and begin reclaiming control. Self-worth is not a trophy to prove. It is a fortress to defend. No one, no matter how close, charming, or familiar, has the right to demand explanations for your peace after years of emotional exhaustion, endless defenses, and justifications. At some point, you stop yelling, arguing, or breaking down. You simply choose silence, not out of fear, but from strength, because you have finally grasped this truth. Silence is not weakness. It is a boundary veiled in calm, a power that needs no noise. Understand this clearly. In a world addicted to drama, your silence will confuse others. They are accustomed to emotional chaos. They expect to provoke you. They believe they control your nervous system. So when you do not react, do not explain, do not say a word, they panic because silence is not emptiness. It overflows with self-respect. It signals their manipulations no longer work, that they have been cut off from your energy. This is the birth of psychological boundaries. And no, setting boundaries is not about telling others what they cannot do. It is deciding what you cannot tolerate, will not respond to, and refuse to sacrifice, even if that costs a relationship. Boundaries do not shout. They come without ultimatums or declarations. They are felt through your steadfastness, the way you stop over-explaining, how you protect your time, how you walk away with dignity, not drama. But here is the crucial point. People do not test your boundaries by accident. They do so to gauge what your silence is made of. Is it genuine or fleeting? Because they know if they are strong enough, If they strike the right wound, press the right guilt, you might fall. You might return to explaining. You might try to prove you are not the villain. And if that happens, the cycle begins anew. So you must choose. Be misunderstood by the wrong person or keep your peace unbroken. You cannot have both. Spiritual discipline is required to remain silent when every fiber of you wants to clarify. Maturity is needed to let go of being right and embrace freedom. Emotional wisdom helps you see that this argument leads nowhere. It only drains your energy. Silence, therefore, becomes more than a tool. It transforms into a philosophy, a daily vow to protect peace, even if it costs acceptance or illusions of harmony. Be frank. You owe no one an explanation for your boundaries once they've shown disrespect. You are not obligated to teach others how to treat you forever. Sometimes it's not a stronger message you need, but a stronger exit, because those who truly value you don't require reminders. They do not test your silence. They honor it. Those who don't were never truly listening. They were calculating all along. So, here is a mindset shift from now on. You don't need to shout to be heard. You raise your standards for respect. You stop over-explaining. You rise above. This is the lesson of Stoicism. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but clarity. And clarity comes when you cease reacting to every noise around you, responding only to what aligns with the higher version of yourself. So, if you find yourself lost in storms of emotion, in toxic relationships, or restless thoughts, pause, step back, and instead of explaining, let silence be your shield. Let your distance speak louder than any argument. The moment you choose stillness over defense, you move from reaction to invulnerability, and that, my friend, is how you protect your energy without uttering a single word. There is a quiet tragedy around us good men. Kind hearts, empathetic souls pouring their strength into being understood, keeping peace, avoiding offense even when it wounds them deeply. But what no one ever told you growing up is this: you owe no one your peace. Not your partner, not your parents, not your past, not your pain. Peace is a sacred refuge, not a gift to be bargained or a favor to be granted when someone's ego is bruised. Yet many of us give it away too easily, as if it holds no real value. We say yes when we mean no. We engage when we should step back. We explain ourselves endlessly until we're drained and filled with resentment. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that being good means always being available. Love means weakness, and spirituality means self-sacrifice. True spiritual discipline is not sacrificing your happiness for others. It is realizing that inner peace is sacred ground. Not everyone has the right to tread upon it. So ask yourself, how many times have you stayed in a conversation going nowhere just to avoid misunderstanding? How often have you defended your worth to those who mock behind your back? How many times have you traded your peace just to soothe someone else's chaos? That is not peace. It is a betrayal of your own soul. The truth is, those upset when you guard your peace are often the ones who took advantage when you lacked it. Let this sink deep. When you set firm psychological boundaries, when you stop over-explaining, when you cease letting every opinion invade your spirit, you will witness something remarkable. Those who cherish your peace will come closer. Those who feed off your turmoil will label you selfish. This is the sign of your healing, because here lies a harsh truth few dare to voice. Not everyone remembers the true you. They only recall the version who tolerated their disrespect. They remember the one who apologized for setting boundaries, the one who remained silent in the face of disrespect, the one who explained their pain to those who exploited it. But that version is gone. It will not return. For now you understand, your energy is not a free gift. Your silence does not equal consent. Your peace is not negotiable. This is emotional wisdom in action. Choosing not to fight every battle is not weakness, but a testament to how precious your peace truly is, too valuable to waste on those who do not honor it. You owe no one your openness. You are not here to correct how others perceive your choices. You are not here to rescue others from the consequences of misunderstanding you. You are here to live your truth, to harmonize with yourself, to stand firmly in your values without apology. When someone demands explanation, let your calmness be your reply. When they try to break your silence, let your distance answer for you. And when someone tries to guilt you for choosing peace, remember this: you owe them no chaos within just to prove you care. You owe them no pain to demonstrate loyalty. You owe them no energy, especially when they wield it against you. Peace is not isolation, it is clarity. It is knowing who deserves closeness and who only seeks control. It is profound self-respect so strong that anything threatening your peace becomes too costly to accept. Because ultimately, you are not defined by how much you endure. You are defined by how fiercely you guard what makes you whole. And above all, that is your peace. At a certain point in growth, silence ceases to be a tactic and becomes a state of being. It is no longer a reaction to conflict. It is more than protection. It is a declaration: I am no longer available for chaos. This silence confounds others because it is not passive. It is powerful, steadfast, unshakable. And here is what they do not grasp. You are not silent out of fear. You do not retreat because of weakness. You are not cold, but deliberately distant. You are silent because you have mastered what they have yet to understand. The strongest statement is made in absolute quiet. When you stop reacting, the extraordinary happens. You begin to see clearly. You recognize who depends on your chaos to wield influence, who thrives on your emotional turmoil to feel powerful, who only feels close when you falter. And suddenly, you forget them. For when you embrace stillness, you no longer crave apologies, no longer seek closure, no longer chase recognition. Why? Because peace does not beg, it does not chase, it does not justify. It simply exists like the ocean beneath a storm, calm, deep, unaffected. This is the essence of emotional intelligence, understanding that not every opinion deserves a response. Not every accusation requires defense. Not every wound needs reopening to prove something. Sometimes, the greatest healing act you can do is to do nothing. No retaliation. No exposure. No words. Just presence, a quiet confidence that says, you may think you win because I do not fight back, but I do not retreat out of defeat. I withdraw because I have won with peace. This is mastery over oneself, a rare strength in a world obsessed with reaction. And let me tell you, when you reach this place, people begin to feel your absence in ways words cannot convey. They realize you are not avoiding them. You simply refuse to partake in the drama. You're not ignoring them. You just refuse to repeat the same destructive cycles. And that unsettles them deeply, because until now, they have relied on your habits, guilt, explanations, risques, and reactions. But when you choose silence, they lose access not only to your presence, but to the control they once held over your mind. That is why this silence is dangerous to them. It is no longer a battle of theories. It is transcendence beyond the battlefield altogether. You no longer care about right or wrong. You care about freedom. And this transformation terrifies those who need you to remain small, suffering, reactive, and easily controlled. Silence is the refusal to play a rigged game. Silence is the path by which you escape the emotional whirlpool they wish to trap you in. Silence is where your inner peace resounds louder than any judgment cast upon you. If you sit quietly now and wonder if this signals surrender, let me remind you, this silence is not defeat. It is your sovereignty, echoing louder than any words you've ever spoken. There comes a moment on your journey when everything changes. You no longer shrink back. You no longer soften your voice to avoid hurting another's ego. You no longer dilute your truth to make it easier to swallow. You stop apologizing not out of arrogance, but because you see the trap. Every apology you once gave for being yourself was a silent permission for others to disrespect you. You apologized for growing, withdrawing, needing space, saying no, walking away. You apologized for the most sacred parts of you, your honesty, your clarity, your standards. But now you understand. The world does not need a smaller version of you. It needs you, whole, unfiltered, unshaped, and unashamed. Because here is the truth. You were never too much. They were simply too preoccupied with keeping you small. Your emotional depth made them feel shallow. Your clarity exposed their confusion. Your calm made their chaos unbearable. So they labeled you cold, hard, selfish, distant. But you were never those things. You simply refused to sacrifice your worth on the altar of their insecurities any longer. This is the beginning of psychological detachment, not from love or connection, but from expectation. Detachment from the emotional coercion telling you to shrink or lose them. Now you see clearly, if betraying yourself is the price to keep them, then losing them is freedom, not loss. You no longer feel guilty raising your standards. You no longer justify why your peace matters. You don't apologize for blocking those who weaponize your kindness. You don't apologize for setting boundaries they were never taught to respect. You don't apologize for seeing through manipulation and choosing your mental health over endurance. You don't apologize for choosing inner peace over external approval. This is emotional intelligence at its strongest, not just understanding your feelings, but mastering how you respond to those who abuse them. Let them call it whatever they wish. Let them tell their version of the story. Let them play the victim in tales where you simply refuse to be the one crushed. Because this is what most will never understand. Freedom looks like rebellion to those still trapped in their cages. When you live unapologetically, you begin to make different choices. You stop engaging in uninvited arguments. You stop answering questions unworthy of your response. You stop explaining your growth to those stuck in emotional kindergarten. You don't waste energy proving your peace is valid. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to make others like a version of you that no longer exists. You simply walk fully in your truth, silent, whole, and unrepentant. And yes, people will talk. They will say, you have changed. They will say, you've lost your way. They will say, you used to be easier to control, though they won't use those exact words. But deep down, they know you haven't worsened. You have become whole. and wholeness threatens those who love only broken fragments. So let them misunderstand you, judge you from the outside, and speak ill while you grow. While they speak, you will rise, you will heal, you will create, you will dive deeply into the life meant for you. Ach Decision, each boundary, each breath without regret. And in that space, the miraculous begins. You begin to love yourself the way you once begged others to love you, without regret, without conditions, without explanation. Because now you know this clearly, you owe no one anything but the truth of who you are. You have spoken enough, guarded your heart, and explained your peace. You have opened your heart many times to those who never wished to understand you. Now, you let silence speak, no longer justifying your worth, no longer explaining your growth, no longer clarifying what should have been respected from the start. The truth is, some people do not deserve your words. They only deserve your absence. There is a power that only silence can hold. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of release, the silence of spiritual clarity. Silence that declares, I have found peace even in being misunderstood, and I no longer seek your permission to be free. This silence makes controllers, manipulators fueled by guilt, and chaos wielders tremble in fear. Because when you cease to explain, they face their greatest fear themselves. Your words were once their refuge to dodge, dispute, distort, and deceive. But now, there is nothing left to twist, attack, or manipulate. Only your serene calm. The space between and an unshakable steadiness remain. And that resonates louder than any argument. It declares that I have transcended this conversation. It announces that your approval no longer defines me. It shows that I am not angry. I am done. This is the final step of emotional wisdom. No reaction, no engagement, only observation and retreat. True power does not lie in domination. True strength lives in discipline, and silence is the most disciplined response. It demands no proof. It seeks no applause. It begs no understanding. It simply walks away, letting the void speak for itself. Trust me, they will hear it in your quiet absence. They will hear every boundary you no longer explain. They will feel every ounce of energy you have reclaimed. They will confront their own reality without your voice to soften the blow. And in that emptiness, one of two things will happen. They will mature, or they will cling to bitterness. Either way, it is no longer your responsibility. Healing is not only about becoming whole, it is also about releasing the need to be understood, especially by those who choose to dwell in their wounds. Let them sit with your silence. Let them drown in their own noise. Let them wonder why the power they once held vanished the moment you stopped speaking. That is when they realize you were never the problem. You were merely a mirror, and your honest reflection was too much for them to bear. So here is your final reminder. You owe them no words. You owe them no closure. You owe them no breath of justification. What you owe is to yourself, to protect your peace. Honor the truth, and walk your path with serenity. Resolve, and a quiet flame. Let your silence be the answer. Let your life be the proof. And let their confusion be the price for underestimating your strength. You have explained enough. Now is the time to live authentically. You have spent too many years explaining to those who never truly listened. Too much energy translating your heart into a language their ego refuses to learn. But now you understand. You do not need their understanding. You need your own freedom. And freedom begins the moment you stop begging to be seen and start seeing yourself clearly. The shadows within will always try to pull you into chaos. But you were not born to be swept away by that noise. You were born to rise in silence, to walk in truth, to become untouchable by turmoil. From now on, you owe no one an explanation. You owe no one a softened version of your truth. You owe no one your peace just to calm their storms. Let your silence echo. Let your energy speak louder than words. Let your presence become so clear that the world knows exactly who you are without a single word. And when they ask why you stopped responding, why you walked away, why you changed, just smile and let your silence be the final answer. If this message has stirred something within you, if it has reminded you of your worth, your power, and your quiet authority, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video if you are tired of explaining. Subscribe to Think Stoic 101 if you are ready to reclaim your energy and walk in truth. Comment below. I choose silence. I choose peace. I choose myself. Let the world know you have risen above it all. This is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of your freedom. See you in the next video. Stoic warrior. Until then, hold your stance, keep your clarity, and never explain your light to those addicted to darkness.